So listen to the wind, but more especially to the wind from the south. Not only the south as the third world, as the cultures and civilizations of Latin America, of Africa, of Asia, of the Arab world, but the south also as the movements and voices of people wherever they exist. I think of 2003, I think of the anti-war movement, I think of people all over the world that protested before the invasion and occupation and war on Iraq. The South then, as the visions and knowledges of people on the margins, of the indigenous, of the blacks, of the Dalits in my country, the South also as the visions and wisdoms of women. The South then as the recovering of new paradigms which challenge the existing theoretical concepts and categories, breaking the mind constructs, seeking a new language to describe what it perceives, and refusing that the one objective, rational, scientific discourse is the only discourse, that this is the only worldview. It is a worldview, but that it has become the worldview. The South then, as the discovery of other cosmologies, as the recovery of other knowledges. We know that the dominant cosmology disqualified all our knowledges that didn't fit into those Western frames. So to find and to rediscover knowledges that have been hidden, submerged, subjugated. The South then as a disobedience. I want to say that strongly. The South as a disobedience. The South as a rebellion. The South as an insurrection of these subjugated knowledges. The South as history, but the South also as memory. The South is the finding of new political paradigms, inventing new political patterns, creating alternative political imaginations. The South as the revelation of each civilization in its own idiom. The South as conversations between civilizations. And I believe that in our search for new understandings of the South, it promises to bring to the world new meanings and new moorings. And in our search, it invites us to create in this way new political imaginaries. The South then as new political imaginary. Because friends, oh really? Our imaginations must be different. The new imagination cannot have its moorings in the dominant discourse, but must seek to locate itself in a discourse of dissent that comes from a deep critique of the different forms of domination and violence in our times. Any new imaginary cannot be tied to the dominant discourses and systems of violence and exclusion. We need to imagine an alternative perspective for change, to craft visions that will evolve out of our conversations across cultures and traditions, conversations between cultures that challenge and transcend the totalitarianism of the Western logos, conversations, and by this I mean that are not mediated by the hegemony of the universal discourse. Therefore, the new imaginary, and I just want to connect it with the rights discourse, is one that will not be trapped either in the universalisms of the dominant thinking, tied as it is to a market economy, a monoculturalism, a materialist ethic, and the politics and the polity of nation states. It must go beyond this. Neither must it be caught in the discourse of the culture specific, but one that will offer universalisms that have been born out of another dialogue. But this will require another ethic of dialogue. We need to find new perspectives on the universality of human rights, a dialogue with other cultural perspectives of reality, other notions of development, democracy, even dissent, other notions of power, other notions of equality which makes us flat and faceless, perhaps the notion of dignity which comes from roots and from depths is a far richer concept. Looking too also to another notion of justice. The notion of justice enshrined in the dominant jurisprudence is a notion of justice that is retributive. It is with punishment, with torture, with death row. Can we move towards understanding justice in a way that restores dignity, that is more restorative, that brings truth, that brings reconciliation, that brings a healing not only of individuals but also of communities. I just end because I have, it seems, no more time, and I haven't reached even halfway. But I think what we need in the world today, friends, is a new universalism. Not universalisms that deny the many and affirm the one. Not universalisms born out of Eurocentricities or patriarchalities, but universalisms that will recognize the universal in the specific civilizational idioms of the world. We need to discover other discourses, other narratives, universalisms that will respect the plurality of the different societies, of their philosophy, their history, their traditions and cultures, one which will find a resonance in the different civilizations, in the different cosmologies. It is here, perhaps, in the cosmologies and rootedness of cultures, here with the peoples on the peripheries, that we seek the deepening of an alternate discourse. It is here, perhaps, that the notion of the sacred still survives. In the dominant paradigm, there is no place for sacredness. Nature and earth is resource. Forests are resources. The Amazon is a resource. We are told that science and technology, which are all part of the global terrorism today that has dispossessed and destroyed, will give us all the answers. I leave you with a few questions, and that is, friends, can we return the spiritual to the material? Can we return the ethical to the political? Can we find the feminine in the increasingly violent male civilizational ethos? Can we bring back the sacred to the earth? We need a different dream, and we need to invite each other to this different dream. I thank you for listening.